SMGs have always been an essential staple in most close-range gunfights, and lightweight frames like Calus Mini-Tool are the shining example of their ability to handle good shotgunners at close range. Its excellent handling and stability also makes it perfect for close-range airborne gunplay. As always, there will be some perks that will be kept constant, such as the range masterwork or intrinsic, arrowhead break, and accurized rounds. With my airborne playstyle for this weapon, I have chosen Icarus Grip as my mod, although counterbalance stock or targeting adjuster are fine choices as well. With all that said, here are the timestamps for each of the roles in the video. Unfortunately, unlike my firefight video, each of the roles feel distinct enough that I was not able to collapse the roles to be reviewed together. Moving target and Eye of the Storm. SMGs typically work well at short to mid ranges, and having as much upfront assistance is always appreciated. However, that doesn't mean mid gunfight perks aren't well received on this weapon. In fact, having Eye of the Storm really works its magic in many low health situations, where I would otherwise find myself at a loss. As seen here on Vostok, a long range map, it is rather difficult in most cases to secure kills with the SMG alone. Moving target helps with aim assist, and that is always appreciated, but I felt that without Eye of the Storm, I'd most likely fall short during prolonged gunfights. Moving target and tap the trigger. I'd say this role is a gamble, as you're effectively putting all of your eggs in the opening engagement basket, so to speak, meaning to say, after the momentary increase to stability and accuracy from tap the trigger, there really isn't much else you can leverage perk-wise other than moving target. So if you're the type that would rather an easier passive to proc, or dislike the playstyle that requires your own input after the first few shots, which is 0.6 seconds for the base trait, which is about 9 rounds, and 0.76 seconds for the enhanced trait, which is 11.4 rounds, if I'm not mistaken, then this may not be the role for you. But for me, I personally do not mind the perk combination at all, as a strong opening more often than not cuts the gunfight short. Moving target and Incandescent. This role is unique in the sense that it gives you the ability to spread Scorch to nearby enemies, and that includes players in PvP. But frankly, I think this perk is a cheap discount version of Firefly and has almost no opportunity to shine for this weapon, as you most likely won't win your 2v1s. Unless, well, they don't see you, or they're blind, which almost never happens in PvP. So in those cases, it's better to have other perks in place of Incandescent. Air Assault and Eye of the Storm. While I still don't like Air Assault, it definitely feels better on higher RPM weapons like SMGs, especially on this weapon with its 900 RPM. Before, when I made the Firefight video, I had no real concrete proof that it felt better, but now after some testing on Calus Mini-Tool, it definitely does help that it's a higher RPM weapon. These two perks have good synergy with one another, as their niche works by benefiting players mid gunfight as your health gets lower. With Icarus, now I have a higher airborne effectiveness stat that makes my gun perform better as my health gets lower. Threat Detector and Eye of the Storm. I think by now most of you guys that are regulars to my style of review content would know my opinions on Threat Detector. It's easy to use and frankly at close range, which for the most part is where you will be engaging with an SMG, having the bonus to stability, handling and reload speed will always be a cherished benefit, and paired with Eye of the Storm for better accuracy when I'm low on health almost always ensures the kill in a 1v1. Slideways and Eye of the Storm. Slideways has always been a favorite of mine, mainly due to your ability to proc it whenever you want by sliding. It really works well with the lightweight frame that is present on Calus Mini-Tool, though it may be difficult for some to get adjusted to since it is activated by sliding. Players who are used to sliding for cover or sliding as part of your movement playstyle would proc Slideways unintentionally. As such, you have a small cooldown of 2 seconds before it can be done again. However, the buff duration is for the 2 seconds, meaning to say there really isn't a cooldown where you cannot proc the perk, which makes it extremely forgiving. Some other details of Slideways is that it gives you 15% of your mag back for both the base and the enhanced trait, but for the base trait it gives you 20 stability and 20 handling, and for the enhanced trait it gives you 25 stability and 25 handling. Even though I'm using transversive steps in basically the entire clip, me playing as a warlock, the ammo refund on sliding is pretty solid, with all things considered, especially during gunfights where reloading spells for a certain death. I don't really have much to say here for PvE for this SMG, but Threat Detector and Grave Robber are some excellent perks to be paired with Surrounded and Disruption Break. You can also choose Unrelenting for the health bump after each kill and Incandescent to scorch targets. For me, this weapon doesn't have, well, the damage, I suppose, in PvE. It's still excellent at ad clear, but I think at higher end content it may not be chosen over things like maybe Unforgiven. But that's just what I have to say about this for PvE. For the verdict, Moving Target and Incandescent comes last, as there really isn't any opportunity to proc it at all in Crucible. Especially if you're up against 2v1s, you most likely die a very fast and painful death. That is followed by Slideways and Eye of the Storm, and Moving Target and Tap the Trigger, which are tied in my case, mainly because I'm slightly biased towards Slideways and how forgiving it is. And in any case, both of them have similar benefits, albeit different conditions by which to achieve them. After that we have Air Assault and Eye of the Storm, followed by Moving Target and Eye of the Storm. Actually for me both of these are more or less neck and neck, because both of them have their uses in specific situations. If I want to go in-air gun dueling during the mid gunfight, Air Assault and Eye of the Storm definitely would be my choice. However, I feel that since most of the time I'm rooted to the ground, Moving Target and Eye of the Storm will definitely be the option I would pick. But the overall winner is Threat Detector and Eye of the Storm, and it really isn't a competition because of how easy Threat Detector is to activate and proc. In my opinion, Air Assault definitely has a visible benefit on higher RPM weapons. However, I still stand by my opinion in my Austringer video, where I mentioned that the Air Assault perk should have a rework to give more of an advantage to players, such as giving half the benefit by default and the full benefit when the shields break. Because with things like Flying Jotun in Crucible, I struggle to find more reason to engage mid gunfight while airborne when players can just jump up and use Jotun, and basically since it's a projectile it kinda ignores your airborne effectiveness instead. But in any case, that's just some slight deviation I have there. And with all that said, I would like to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one where I talk about Drang and how basically it's one of those sidearms that are really almost in the meta, so to speak, or maybe they're already in the meta because of how good and its time to kill is at close range.